Alex Pereira just had a dominant win over Yuri Prohaska at UFC 303 over the weekend, and there's a lot of talks about what he should do next. Some people are calling for him to fight the winner of Aspinall Blades 2. Some people are calling for a mega fight with John Jones, which would be a huge fight. But there are some other people calling for a fight with Magomed Ankalaev. Now, I think, in my humble opinion, that is the least interesting option out of all three of those options because it doesn't involve a super fight, obviously. But do I think Magomed Ankalaev deserves a title shot? I think, yes, he's ranked number 2 in the division. He had a draw with Jan Blachowicz on short notice, and then he beat Johnny Walker, who was ranked a bit higher when Magomed fought him. And now he's ranked number 2 in the division. I think he deserves a title shot. If he didn't get one, I would not be super upset because, again, you're coming off of a win against Johnny Walker, which is not aging too well. So if he doesn't get one, I would not necessarily be upset. But then there's going to be a crowd who comes out and says Alex Pereira is ducking Magomed Ankalaev. And that will be the narrative if Alex Pereira moves up before fighting him. Because Ankalaev does have a fan base of people who just naturally like Dagestani fighters. And they see Dagestani fighters as this unstoppable force. So they want Magomed Ankalaev to fight Alex Pereira. And they think that Ankalaev is going to be the guy to beat him because of his wrestling. Now, in this video, that's the matchup I want to break down. I want to talk about this matchup of Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev and whether or not I think Ankalaev has what it takes to beat Alex Pereira. I'm going to give you the short answer. No, I don't think Magomed Ankalaev would beat Alex Pereira. And now I'm going to give you the long answer and break it down. So the reason people are favoring Magomed Ankalaev is none other than his wrestling. Now, would you be surprised if I told you, and I'm going to open his stats right here, Magomed Ankalaev has a takedown accuracy of 31%. That is not that good. He has a takedown average of 1.02 per 15 minutes. 1.02 takedowns landed per 15 minutes. I'm reading his stats right here, right off the UFC stats page. So a takedown accuracy of 31% and a takedown average of 1 per 15 minutes is not super great. So where does this narrative come from that Ankalaev is this dominant wrestling force? Well, it comes from, in part, his fight with Jan Blachowicz, where he took him down in round 5 and 10-8'd him. Jan Blachowicz could not get up, but with taking into account that Jan Blachowicz was gassed out. That fight was supposed to be 3 rounds until Yuri Prohaska pulled out of his main event with Glover Teixeira, and that fight got promoted to the new main event for the vacant light heavyweight title, and it became a 5-rounder. None of them were ready for 5 rounds. None of them looked too great going into the championship rounds because they were training for 3 rounds, and last second it got switched to a 5-rounder, right? And then Ankalaev, after not looking too good earlier in the fight, 10-8'd him in round 5, but Jan Blachowicz was gassed out. So that's not super impressive. Now, where else do people get this idea that Ankalaev is such a good wrestler? Because Ankalaev is Dagestani, and I cannot stress this enough. There are so many fighters on the roster who would be judged so much differently if they didn't have a Russian name. If you took Magomed Ankalaev and changed his name to Adam Johnson, okay, and he did the exact same stuff he was doing, nobody would be picking him to beat Alex Pereira. And I mean nobody. People would be like, oh yeah, he's got wrestling, but like he doesn't really use it too much and it's not really that dominant. So I'm going to take Pereira because of his crazy power and his crazy striking and blah, blah, blah. But now people see this fighter with a V at the end of his name and they go like, oh, this dude's unstoppable. No way Alex Pereira can beat this guy. Magomed Ankalaev? His last name ends with a V. It's over for Alex Pereira. Guys, Magomed Ankalaev is not a wrestler. He does not wrestle in his fights. He plays with the strike line and only goes for the takedown if he is feeling helpless on the feet. He is from that style of fighters. I put Bilal Muhammad in that category too, and there are other fighters who are like that, who can wrestle, but they don't unless the striking is not going in their favor, and then they'll shoot a takedown. Ankalaev is one of those fighters. So he's going to try the striking game with Alex Pereira, and he's been talking about it. He's been saying he wants to strike with Pereira, and I believe him. I don't think it's bait. I don't think it's, a lie. I think he'll strike with Pereira until he tastes Pereira's power, and then he'll go for a takedown. But Alex Pereira, the moment you taste his power, the fight is over. That is why I'm going to pick Alex Pereira, because I think the moment Ankalaev realizes he made a mistake in standing up with Alex Pereira, the fight will already be kind of over. You know what I'm saying here? So I can give you an example, okay? Ankalaev does not check leg kicks. I'm going to mention that right off the bat here before I continue into anything else and before I forget. Ankalaev against Jan Blachowicz literally just didn't check leg kicks and got his legs destroyed by Jan Blachowicz. And I'm willing to bet that he hasn't really improved that part of his game, because like that's kind of like, basics here if you're a fighter, checking leg kicks. If you don't got it a year ago, you don't got it now. All right, so nothing really changed. He didn't learn to check them. He still sits in that wide boxing stance when he's striking. So I still think Pereira will piece up those legs, and I think Pereira is a much better leg kicker than Jan Blachowicz. That's point number 2. So point number 1, I don't think he changed that part of his game. And point number 2, I'm willing to bet that Alex Pereira is a better leg kicker than Jan Blachowicz and a better striker all around. So I think Alex Pereira is going to destroy the legs of Ankalaev, and I think he's going to catch him early. Within 2 rounds, I think Pereira can catch Ankalaev while they're striking and hurt him badly. And then try wrestling when your legs are gone and when you're wobbled and you don't know what hit you. Try diving for a takedown. It doesn't freaking work. All right? It's different when you're shooting and you're fresh, full of energy, and you're healthy, versus shooting when you've just gotten pieced up for a round or 2 and now you're hurt badly and you need to dive for the legs. It's different. That will only work if your opponent is also hurt and gassed, like Jan Blachowicz. Jan Blachowicz was gassed out, so although Ankalaev had his legs destroyed, he could still take down Jan Blachowicz because Jan Blachowicz was gassed out. But if it's round 2 against Alex Pereira and he catches you with a mean left hook and you're wobbled and you're sat on your bum, and then you're thinking, oh shoot, I gotta get the takedown, yeah, try that, because Pereira's gonna be fresh, Ankalaev's gonna be hurt, he's gonna be trying to get a takedown, Pereira's gonna be throwing more strikes, and Ankalaev's going to be out of there. So I will take Pereira to win within 2 rounds. Now, I also want to mention something about where this fight should take place, because I know Ankalaev, and whether or not this fight should take place, because this is something I want to mention. I forgot to mention it in the beginning. Ankalaev had 2 opportunities to fight Alex Pereira. He beat Johnny Walker in January. That was like the first fight night of the year. That was the first fight card of the year. He fought Johnny Walker in the rematch after the first fight was a no contest. He fought him and beat him in January. Alex Pereira was looking for an opponent for UFC 300 in April. Ramadan, okay, it makes sense. Magomed Ankalaev didn't want to step up. That's fair. Now, there's another opportunity, UFC 303. 3 pay-per-views later, in the end of June, right before July, you have an opportunity to step up on short notice and fight Alex Pereira. He does not step up. He's been sitting back and calling for an Abu Dhabi fight. Why would Ankalaev get this fight on his home turf where he's going to be the fan favorite? I don't understand that. Alex Pereira has been kind of putting everything on the line for the UFC, stepping up on short notice with his belt. This is not stepping up on short notice for the title shot, Ankalaev should be stepping up on short notice for a title shot. Pereira is stepping up on short notice with his belt on the line. He's taking his belt, putting it on the line, short notice, and winning. And saving pay-per-views, saving the company. Why on earth should Ankalaev get to choose where the fight takes place and when it takes place? Pereira should choose to fight when he's ready. Okay? He's just had 2 short notice fights. Let him take some time off if he needs time off. Let him choose where he wants to fight. Does he want to fight in Las Vegas? Does he want to fight in Madison Square Garden in November? Let him pick. Don't let Ankalaev pick, because Ankalaev hasn't done a fraction of what Pereira has done for the company. And Ankalaev is not a fraction of the draw or the star that Pereira is. So there's no universe where Ankalaev should be the one calling the shots. I think Pereira should call where he wants this fight. Does he want it in the freaking sphere? I don't think they're going to do that. But if he wants it in the sphere, if he wants it somewhere, he should call for that. And he should get it, stepping up on short notice to save another card within 2 months. And Ankalaev should have to oblige. And if he doesn't want to oblige with Pereira's terms, then I think Pereira should be free to move up to heavyweight. And I think that's the most logical option. I think, yes, Ankalaev deserves a title shot. I think Pereira will still beat him. But you know what? Let's just settle this chapter. All the Dagestani fans want to see this fight. They all think Pereira is ducking Ankalaev. I strongly, strongly disagree. So let's see this fight play out. Let's see Pereira beat him, and then he can move up to heavyweight once and for all. After he beats Ankalaev, there's no rematch that needs to be done with any fighter, especially not Hill, who's been calling for rematches. He's not getting a rematch. In his wildest dreams, he's never going to get a rematch. He's never going to fight for the light heavyweight strap again, especially not against Alex Pereira. There's also no other contenders that we really need to see Alex Pereira fight. And after he beats Ankalaev, he can move up to heavyweight and try and get that champ status. Now, if Ankalaev, like I said, does not want to oblige to Pereira's conditions, if Ankalaev wants to fight on his home turf when he is ready and does not want to sacrifice anything to meet Alex Pereira's terms, then Ankalaev should be deprived of his title shot, should be robbed of his title shot, and Pereira should be given the chance to get champ. Because Pereira is the one sacrificing everything for the company, and he deserves to call the shots now. You know, if someone like McGregor comes along, the UFC is going to let him pick who he wants to fight and when. Same thing with Pereira. Pereira is becoming that level of star now. He's becoming the face of the UFC. He's probably one of the biggest stars in the UFC right now, if not the biggest. I know Conor McGregor is still technically in the UFC, but in terms of the up-and-coming stars, I think Pereira is the biggest, possibly even bigger than Islam Makhachev, who's also proved himself to be a great fighter. But just Pereira, you know, with kind of just the memes about him, you know, and the Shama and the aura and all that stuff, Alex Pereira is becoming the biggest star up-and-coming in the UFC. He should be able to choose where he fights Ankalaev, and if Ankalaev doesn't like it, then Pereira should be able to choose to fight Aspinall or John Jones, whatever he wants to do at heavyweight. He should be given the choice to move up and get champ status. That's all I have to say about this matchup. Let me know in the comments below if you disagree with my pick. Do you think Ankalaev can beat Pereira? What do you think about what I've mentioned about Pereira fighting on his own terms rather than Ankalaev's terms? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. I'll see you guys next time. Like and subscribe. Thank you guys for watching.